This narration is from the book Abstract Writings. Every attempt in my life succeeded, but never where I aimed a narration from a prose poetry authored by Dr. R.S. John. The book consists of 20 short chapters, and it will be presented on this YouTube channel as a series of 5 videos of 4 chapters each exploring a fragment of life's unexpected journeys, misdirections, and quiet revelations. This is the 3rd video in the series. This is from chapter 9 to 12 of the novel, which contains aphoristic thought. We invite you to listen, reflect, and walk with us through these abstract moments of thought and experience. Thank you for your time and for your listening interest. Chapter 9, I Loved My Neighbor. Through the river and the mountain, I returned to the village of ordinary life. Because not all tests are dramatic. Some tests are next door. I had survived ocean waves. I had survived mountain air. Now I thought life would be simple. Then my neighbor entered the story. Not with a sword. Not with danger. With need. He was not my enemy. He was not my friend. He was simply the man living beside me, close enough to see my light, close enough to use it. I loved him. Not with words. With actions. I shared my time. I shared my money. I shared my food. Because love feels holy when it is given. But love becomes painful when it is taken for granted. At first, I did not notice the cost. Giving is like donation. You only realize the weakness when too much has left you. Slowly, my wealth began to disappear. Not stolen. Not robbed. Just drained. A little here. A little there. Like a candle melting while it is trying to light someone else's darkness. One day, I opened my hands and they were empty. I looked around for my wealth. It was gone. And my neighbor smiled, not cruelly, but comfortably, as if my sacrifice was his right. That is when a bitter question rose inside me. Was I loving or was I being used? But then another voice answered. A softer voice, a wiser voice. Even if you were used, love is still love. Because love is not a business deal. It is a mirror. It shows who you are even when the other person remains unchanged. I became poorer. But something strange happened. I became lighter. And in that poverty, I learned a truth that money never teaches. Wealth can leave you, but goodness stays. And that is the difference between losing money and losing yourself. Chapter 10, Wealth. Guest that leaves quietly. Wealth does not leave with noise. It does not slam doors. It does not announce goodbye. It leaves the way sunlight leaves a room, slowly, silently, until you suddenly realize you are sitting in shade. I tried to count what I lost. But loss cannot be counted like coins, because the biggest loss is not the money. It is the feeling of safety. When wealth was with me, I walked like the road belonged to me. I spoke like tomorrow was guaranteed. I laughed like nothing could break. Wealth gives false courage. It makes a man feel tall even when he is small inside. Then the day came when I stood in my own house and felt like a visitor. The furniture was the same, the walls were the same, but something invisible was missing. The comfort of enough. I did not blame my neighbor openly. I blamed myself quietly. Because a generous man always suffers twice. First, he loses wealth, then he loses peace. I asked myself a painful question. Was my love too much or their need too big? But life does not answer quickly. Life waits until you are humble enough to hear the lesson. And the lesson came like a whisper. Wealth is a guest. Never build your identity around a guest. Chapter 11, The House That Became Light. After wealth left, my house became strange. Not haunted, not broken, just lighter. There were fewer things to protect, fewer things to lock, fewer things to worry about. I noticed how poverty changes space. When you are wealthy, your house is full of objects and your mind is full of fear. When you are poor, your house is empty and your mind begins to breathe. I began to see my home differently. It was no longer a showroom. It was no longer a storage place for status. It became a shelter, a simple roof, a simple bed, a simple cup of tea that tasted like gratitude. I realized something shocking. I had been a rich man living like a prisoner. Now I was a poor man living like a free soul. The world outside still judged me. Some said, he has fallen. Others whispered, he has failed. But deep inside, something stronger was rising. I was no longer competing. I was finally living. And that house with fewer things began to shine. Not with gold, with peace. Because peace is not furniture. Peace is light. Chapter 12, A Poor Man's Richness. When people saw me after my loss, they looked at me with pity. Pity is a strange charity. It gives you nothing but makes you feel smaller. I smiled at them. Not because I was pretending. Because I had discovered a secret that pity cannot understand. There is a richness that begins when wealth ends. I became careful with words. I became careful with time. I became careful with friends. Loss teaches selection. You learn who loves you and who only loves your wallet. You learn who stands near you and who stands near your benefit. Before, my door was crowded. After, my door was quiet. And in that quiet, I finally heard my own soul. I had time to think. I had time to pray. I had time to read myself the way one reads a sacred book, slowly, honestly, without skipping painful lines. Then I understood. Wealth is not money. Wealth is a clean conscience, a thankful heart, a mind not addicted to applause, a soul that can sleep at night. And strangely, poverty gave me this. So I stood in my simple home and declared without shouting. I lost my wealth, but I did not lose my worth. Because when you have nothing, you finally discover what cannot be taken. Thank you very much for listening to third video. We will come back with next video soon for you to enjoy listening to the complete novel, Abstract Writings.